Can anyone develop a good singing voice? If you're listening to this podcast and you still have doubts, today I want to settle this once and for all. But rather than just telling you it is possible, we're going to try something different. We're going to go through 3 of the most common misconceptions that tends to hold people from getting started with singing. And we are going to prove that it is wrong, and I'll back it up with some solid evidence. Now, real quick for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ivan. I'm a voice teacher who works with students from all around the world over Zoom. And really on this podcast, my goal is to make learning how to sing as simple and as easy as possible. So if that is up your lane, consider subscribing. If you want to improve faster with less of the headaches, I'd love to work with you. Check out some links down in the description on how you can do so. Last but not least, let me know down in the comments what you want me to talk about next. Anyway, let's dive in. Common misconception number 1, and this is probably one of the more common ones that people tend to have. And it's, what if, singing is just a gift or a talent for very special people? So many of our favorite singers, it just looks as if they open their mouth and then this really, really awesome sound comes out. But then we try to sing the same song and something completely different comes out. And so this can fool us into thinking that singing is something innate. It's something that, only certain people can develop, and maybe they've had it since they were born. But this can be easily disproved. Sure, great singers look as if they just open the mouth and then some easy, effortless sound comes out. But what we don't realize is that behind the scenes, within the body, there's all these muscles and all these habits that are at play. We don't see this intricate control of these muscles happening within. Now, let me back it up. Let's say, for example, singing on pitch or learning to sing higher without strain. This is a big part of what makes a singer good. This is a very, very important part of this skill set, because if you can't sing on pitch or if you're constantly straining, you won't sound that great. But what you might not have realized is there is actually muscles or a set of muscles that's involved in this. There are a set of muscles that literally encourage the stretching of the vocal folds, which allows you to change pitch. Now, for those of you who are more interested in the anatomy and you're not too afraid of blood, I'll also drop in some links into the description showing this actual process. Now, we don't have to get really sciencey. You don't need to know all the anatomy, the CT, the TA. You don't really need to know all of that, right? All you need to know is this. Singing feels very mystical because it is invisible to the eye. For the most part, we can't see the muscles, the habits that are engaging that allows us to sing well. But when we really take a chance to look behind the scenes, you realize that because it's muscles, because it's habits, it's really no different from learning how to drive a car, learning how to play a new sport. Now, I'm not saying it is easy, because without being able to see the voice, it does add an extra level of challenge in terms of learning, but I am saying that it can be done. Common misconception number 2. But Ivan, what if I am tone deaf? Now, this is the second misconception that I tend to hear a lot, but let's see if we can quickly disprove it. Have a listen to this. And I'll play it one more time. Did they sound different, or did they sound the same to your ears? Now, if you answered that they sound different, you're not tone deaf. And now, if you thought that they sounded the same, I want you to listen back to it again and see if you can hear that they are different. If you can hear that they are different now, you're still not tone deaf. You simply needed a bit of guidance. But Ivan, I can hear the difference, but I am tone deaf. When I go sing at a karaoke or when I'm kind of recording myself, I'm off pitch sometimes. And the crazy thing is I'm sometimes not even aware of it. Now, I personally don't think this means you are tone deaf, but rather it points to the fact that you probably need a bit more training. Firstly, just because you can hear a pitch doesn't mean you can actually sing it. We've kind of established this in the first point, where learning to sing on pitch requires coordinating a set of muscles and to be able to do it accurately. I've had so many instances in a lesson where a student would be off pitch, but they weren't off pitch because they couldn't hear themselves right, but rather maybe sometimes the note was out of their range, but also sometimes they just weren't really that clear on what does it even feel like to change pitch. Now, the second thing here is complexity does really, really matter. When you're singing a song, as I've talked about many times, there's so many things that are going on. You have to remember the lyrics, you have to remember the timing, you have to kind of express with emotion. Sometimes it's okay for you to slip off pitch, especially when pitch isn't something that is autonomous for you right now. Now, this doesn't mean that you're tone deaf. It just simply means that there's too much going on for you right now. And what I usually do for students who are in this situation is we just find ways to make the song a bit more simple. Maybe kind of just humming through the song to kind of get rid of the words so you don't have to think about that. Or sometimes we just slow things down so you have the chance to really feel and really notice what is going on. Common misconception number 3. The last thing that we need to disprove is this. Because right now we've established, okay, sure, I might not need to be a special person. I might not need to have a special gift, a special throat to be a singer. But you don't know me, Ivan. I just can't get any better. And if anything, maybe I've even tried to practice for a couple of years and I haven't seen any tangible results. Now, I think personally, this points more to personal philosophy and something that is a bit deeper. But I would encourage you to have this thought experiment. Look at your life to this point. What are some other skills that you've had to learn? Maybe initially they felt very tricky, they felt very hard to pick up, but then eventually you picked it up. I want you to challenge this. Why would singing be any different? What is fundamentally different about singing versus some of those other skills that you might have seen? What makes it different? And if it isn't different, what is it really that is holding you back? Anyway, that is all. I really wanted to create this episode because so much of what holds us back from getting better at singing is often just our own beliefs, our own misconceptions about learning to sing. So if you did find this episode useful, please share, please leave a 5-star if you're listening here from the podcast. That really, really means the world to me. If you're feeling stuck with your voice, I want to work with you. Our links are down in the description below. My name is Ivan. I'm your voice teacher. I'll see you next week. Bye.